What you can see in front of you is in fact the highest Black Label Pokemon sales over the past 3 months, and you can see at the top we have the Umbreon VMAX that I actually made a video about a couple of months ago, talking about this $12,000 plus sale and why I thought it was extortionately priced and why I said you should probably stay away from that. Beyond that, if I actually scroll down a little bit, you can see there are a couple more sales, again within and about the same region. Like, of course it's a duplicate listing in that they sold a couple of days apart, so I'm not sure exactly what's happened there. But then again, you scroll further down, you can see another $11,500 sale. And it's crazy to think that when I made that video a couple of months back, I was like, these prices are insane. Black Labels, at least this one in particular, because the video was focused on the Umbreon one, just insanely priced, definitely not worth it, and it should be something you stay away from. But to be honest, since that point, I haven't really seen a kind of reduction in that hype surrounding Black Labels. More and more I see them on Instagram, YouTube, just more and more people seem to be chasing them, and the prices seem to be just insane for certain cards, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, just talking about whether or not I believe Black Labels are in a bit of a bubble. And to preface the remainder of the video, I'm going to say yes, they absolutely are, like a lot of things are in Pokemon right now. It is certainly one of those hype type things at the moment, alongside many others that I'm sure you're aware of, like, you know, your waifu cards, your Sun and Moon Altarts. Like, all of these have seen significant gains and growth over the past few months, and I certainly don't think Black Label cards are, you know, kind of away from that crazed bubble kind of rapid price hype increase that we've seen with a lot of different things. I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper into some of the numbers surrounding the Black Labels themselves, and pretty much reason why you certainly should not be purchasing these cards, and maybe make the argument as to whether you should be grading the cards or not, depending on, of course, what the card is and whether or not you're looking to keep it or sell it, or somewhere in between. Just by that, I'm not saying like you sell half the card, but more in that you keep what you like and maybe sell it later down the line, or you sell something you don't like immediately. Up to you, of course. But anyway, as I said, I just wanted to show off a few more sales as well. So we've got the Lugia V from Silver Tempest there. It's the best offer, so it didn't sell anywhere near that price. I think it was closer to the 4,000 and 5,000 price. Again, we've got another, that's the Silver Tempest Lugia, around 5k. I've seen them sell a little bit lower than that. We've got a Rayquaza VMAX Altart from Evolving Skies. Again, like, we're talking crazy numbers compared to the raw prices, right? These are raw between $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, and obviously once they're in that BGS 10 Black Label condition, you are looking at significantly more. Again, look, we I saw this sale the other day, the Charizard GX BGS 10. So what happened a few years ago was, in fact, that this card sold for, I think, $12,000, and it's still raw around $350 to $400. And if you're lucky enough to get it in that BGS 10, you are making a hefty amount. That's $5,000 for that Charizard. Again, just a few more. We've got quite a few Umbreons, and one thing you'll of course have noticed is it's pretty much all modern cards, and that's probably the biggest issue. We've got a 3.8k sale there, so big discrepancy between the two. But my biggest issue probably with all of this Black Label craze is the fact that we're basically talking about modern cards. There, of course, I'm sure you've seen a few Black Labels that aren't modern, and there's a few. I know I've seen a couple of Black Labels from like base set. Like, I think the Green Shares Josh has a Black Label Drowsy from base set, if I'm not mistaken. And you'll see them sporadically from different sets and all sets, but the majority of them are, of course, modern cards, and that's kind of the main reason why I would never justify some of these prices that we're seeing. I'm not going to show too much more, just because you get a fair idea of the kind of cards that are coming up here. These highest price Black Label sales. You're not seeing WotC Hollows, really, are you? You're not seeing any mid EX Diamond and Pearl era Hollows, or actual EX cards or anything of the sort. You're basically seeing 99% modern cards, and that's of course what you expect with something like kind of BGS labeling and their Black Label cards, just because they are extremely difficult to get. Well, at least you think so anyway. But I'm going to show off that's not exactly the case when you start, as I said, digging deep and looking into more of the numbers. So I've taken a few examples where I've just gone and looked at I've attempted to find the price, the roll price, the BGS 10 Black Label price, as well as the Black Label rates themselves. Of course, some of this data is, it's not necessarily widely available. There's like 1 or 2 sales potentially over the period of a few months, so you got to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. So first things first, I wanted to talk about the Umbreon VMAX again, as I'm sure you'll be happy to hear. But anyway, people love it, right? So the Umbreon VMAX, last I checked, and I pointed this out, of course, in the video that I made, it has a 5% Black Label rate. That means 1 in 20 cards that you submit, at least the Japanese version of the Umbreon VMAX, gets you a BGS a BGS 10 Black Label, sorry about that, and roughly it goes from about $2,500 card to, as you've seen here, around about the $10,000 mark. So you've got 5 times the markup on that. 5% Black Label rate for a modern Japanese card. You're probably thinking, hey, that's quite high, but if you look and continue to look, you'll see that isn't necessarily the case, and then a lot of them are even higher than that. One example where this just wasn't the case was the Sightseer. So the Sightseer is, of course, probably one of the most popular waifu cards. Crazy pop in PSA 10. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know it's reasonably high. But I only saw one in BGS 10. I'm going to start saying Black Label instead of BGS 10, because of course BGS 10 can also be pristine. So it has a 15% pristine rate, but it has a 0.5% Black Label rate. Don't see this with another waifu full art trainer, this time being the Iono card that just came out recently in the one of the Clayburst Japanese set. And there were already 14 of these cards graded in Black Label condition, which was around about 9%, which is almost double the percentage we've seen so far with the Umbreon VMAX. Of course, we're still at the beginning with this Iono card, so potentially that's, more and more people grade. That's going to kind of bring in some more variants. So you'd expect maybe there'd be a drop in that in that percentage, but at the same time, it's a modern Japanese product. These cards come out pristine out of the packet. We think we have poor quality control with English products, and even still, we get ridiculous PSA 10 rates from majority of modern products. Japanese PSA 10 rates are probably 75, 85, 95%. So to be honest, it's no real surprise that we are getting these crazy Black Label rates. It'd be interesting to see exactly how many PSA 10s you could get from Japanese modern to cross-grade into Black Labels, but someone would have to fork out a decent amount of money for that, and that's probably not something I would volunteer to do. But to continue, again, we've got the Lugia V from Paradigm Trigger, and there's already 41 of those available. So the set's been out for what, six months, and that's an 8.4, so nearly 9% again there. And it goes from a $350 to $400 card to roughly a $4,000 to $5,000 card. The English version of the same card, so the Lugia V from Silver Tempest, has a 2% Black Label rate and goes from around about $200 to $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000. Card similar to that is, of course, the Japanese Rayquaza VMAX. That has a Black label rate of almost 10%. It's actually 9.7%, and it goes from it's already a rare and expensive card as a raw card, similar to the Umbreon VMAX, so like 1500, maybe 2000 on a good day for the Rayquaza. And I actually couldn't find a sale for this, but I'm sure I'm sure there's been a few. I just haven't had my eyes on them. And if anyone has any information, any links or anything like that to help out with that, I'd really appreciate if you could put that in the comments. But the English one has a few more sales and a few more basically sales data available for that, and we're looking at 3% black label rate, going from roughly a $300 to a $3,500 to $4,000 card. Those are the super duper modern. Just a few examples there, of course. We're talking about Sword and Shield era, Scarlet and Violet era cards, and I picked, of course, what we've seen here, right? I've not gone and picked random black labels that there are pops of 1 and 2 that one person in the world owns and only one person is interested. We're talking about the stuff that people really get excited about, the crazy modern Japanese market that we've seen as of recent. Another example I wanted to mention, just a little bit older, of course, and you would have seen it already, the Charizard GX Hidden Fates, which goes from about a $350 card, as you saw, to a $5,000 card. And the one example of a card which I think a bit more of a contrast, and it's interesting to see that this card, it's a modern Japanese promo, and I'll give you some clues just in case you're able to guess what it is. And an insane number of this card is being printed, Japanese, Chinese, Thai, all these different variations. It should be coming out in English soon, so again, giving you some more clues before I actually mention the card. But this card has an absolutely enormous black label population. It is 529 as of recording this video, and we're talking about a 22% black label rate. And this card is the the Scarlet and Violet 001 Pikachu promo card, so the one that basically everyone has, and it goes from being a $10 card to a $300 card. So the reason why I wanted to mention that alongside the others was, of course, you're not seeing it here because I sorted by highest priced, so that's the main reason why you're not seeing it there. But just the fact that 22% of these cards, and again, it's a Japanese modern promo, we just need to understand the print quality is going to be fantastic the majority of the time. There are plenty of course, there are different promos, especially promos in English, that just have terrible print quality, and there's a reason why there's a little bit of a premium for PSA 10 or BGS 10 rated cards. But you're not having any trouble grading this card in a black label. So if you're someone who just wants to buy a black label card, is just interested in the label, because I'll be honest as well, I think the label looks fantastic. I'm not the biggest fan of BGS slabs. I have a few and then kind of just like shove them to the back somewhere where they can't be seen, but I really do like the BGS black label. And kind of my main point going through all of this was to say, if that's something you want and something you chase, grade the damn card yourself. It's just not worth picking any of these cards up otherwise. Honestly, grade the card yourself. The Umbreon VMAX is, you got a 10% chance of getting a gold label. If you've got a massive pair of bollocks, you could resubmit the same card, just keep cracking it open, and it's probably likely eventually you might or you will get the black label. I just cannot understand and justify any of these crazy prices that we've seen recently. And if you're not interested in collecting any particular black label, you just want a black label for the sake of it, why not grade one of these Scarlet and Violet promos yourself? And it's $300 at pop, almost $550, $530 in gold label. So if you wanted to pay $300 as well, $300 to pick that up to save you a bit of time and effort, you could also do that. So to go back to the original question about whether I think Japanese or black label cards, are in a bubble, it's I probably was a bit too forward with answering that before, but generally, genuinely, there's no real, don't see it being any other way. I mean, I could certainly be wrong, and we could see this being the start of something, but just it's not necessarily something I would say is rational and makes sense. I just think there's a lot of hype about it. There's a few people I see on Instagram all the time just kind of sharing and showing off these Black Label cards, and just think when we're talking about a 9%, 10%, even a 5% Black Label rate, these cards really aren't as rare as you think. The most expensive cards are, of course, cards that are already rare and expensive before you're grading, or they're waifu cards that are rare and expensive before you're even considering grading them. Whereas if you look at an example of a card that's cheaper but has kind of the same print quality, if not better, you just don't have anywhere near, I mean, in terms of like actual percentage increase, that Scarlet Violet promo went from $10 to $300, which is a fantastic return, to be honest, if you consider the cost of grading $20, $25 with BGS, I think, and $35 to $300 is really, really not too bad. You're getting that 1 out of 5 times as well. That's a fantastic return. But you can just see that these cards just aren't as rare as you. And I think that's probably the main thing for me to take away from looking at these numbers. I was kind of shocked to see how high some of them really were, especially like the Lugia and the Rayquaza, and then the sort of Scarlet Violet promo, sorry. But then again, we're talking about modern Japanese single cards. So again, also not surprised. So yeah, that's kind of the main takeaway from this video. I mean, I personally will be staying away from gold labels, but if you're someone who's keen and interested in that, feel free to go ahead, right? Who am I to tell anyone not to? I'm just kind of sharing my opinion, whatever it may be worth. So let me know if something like Black Labels are something that kind of piques your interest, if it's something that you do actively look out for, whether you try and grade them yourself or whether you pick them up whenever you can, just because maybe you're struggling to grade them yourself, or maybe you're just someone who sends off a bunch of modern Japanese cards in the hopes of getting pristine 10s or BGS 10s, sorry, gold labels, in order to just basically flip them and get rid of them and make a bit of profit. And I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but kind of another video I wanted to make was the idea, or at least was to discuss the fact that at this point in time, the margins we're seeing on PSA 10 Japanese graded cards is just very, very small. I sell a few myself on my own store, and those prices are just getting pushed more and more and more down in those margins. Like if you're not getting a 9, if you're not getting a 10, you're not getting anywhere. And if you're getting a 10, you grade a $60 card, you grade it in a 10, pay $15 for it, you're probably selling it for $100. The margins on those are small, and then you've actually got to consider that the rate at which it sells is going to be slower than it will sell as a single card. But then you've really got to weigh up, is it even actually worth it, even if it gets the 10? And that's something I'm trying to kind of contemplate and think about myself. And I think that would actually make an interesting video coming up. But yeah, not trying to give too much away. Maybe one to look out for in the future. And if you do, make sure you subscribe, and in the hopes that video comes out and you might actually get to see it. Also, if you like the video itself, please make sure to leave a like. It's very helpful. Helps me get this video out to more people. So thank you for checking out the video. Really appreciate any support you can throw my way, and hopefully I'll catch you next one.